okay, we're just gonna switch a little microphone. Oops. I'm Jessica Shaw. I am so thrilled to be here to talk about Wicked for Good. Before we bring out the glorious Cynthia Erivo, I want to just say Ariana Grande has COVID, and I'm so like collectively, let's all wish her a very speedy recovery. She wishes she could be here. And let's bring out the extraordinary Cynthia Erivo. How does that feel? As in every screening, people just applauding through with the songs. I mean, this has been a long journey, and this must be a little surreal to now be talking about.
I love it, but it's also kind of poetic because we're going to enter the journey with my peers, which is really special.
Absolutely. I wanted to start by asking you, Cynthia, about the fact that these two movies were filmed simultaneously. It wasn't like Wicked was filmed, break, then Wicked for Good. How on earth, as an actor, do you navigate that knowing that there are going to be moments that you need to just be in a completely different emotional space than where you're going to be tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, and we were lucky because we had this wonderful sort of grace period of rehearsal at the beginning with Jon, and we sort of like sat in his office and worked through the emotional beats of both movies before we even stepped foot on a set. And then by the time we had gotten a set, we kind of knew the beginning, the middle, and end of where these women were heading and coming from. And so once knowing that, the job was then on us to sort of mark the emotional beats as we were moving through. The easier thing to do was to look at the entire thing as one film, one very long film, and just work through it that way. And then you have like practical things that I would, sense memory is a big thing for me, so I would make a set of perfumes for either Elphaba. So the first Elphaba had like a floral scent that was like all the big flowers, because it was about the big emotions that she was feeling and deep. Sorry, I sound like a bird. She's disappearing.
You sound very sexy. You're good.
So that first perfume had like lots of like big open flowers, tuberose, rose, jasmine, all of that. And then the second, you would not believe, I found in this wonderful small shop, a brand called Fiyero, and the perfume is called Witchy Whip. And I didn't believe it would work, and then I sprayed it on and I left it for a second, and it works with body chemistry, and I couldn't get it out of my head, so I figured that works for Elphaba too. So you have things like that, and I have a playlist for both Elphabas. And it was only recently that I realized that I was literally thinking in Elphaba 1 and Elphaba 2, because when I looked at the playlist, it is a playlist of two halves. So the first is very angsty, it's very like heartfelt. The second is like rage-filled. Lots of rap and lots of like all of that. But it's a combination of the homework, making sure that you know where you're going and where you're coming from, and applying the things you learn to memory, so that when you move on to the next moment, you can bring it with you. And then also the practical things that sort of awaken the senses in you.
Yeah. I love that you had just even the sense that you have such a sensory connection to this character. Tell us some of the songs on both the Elphaba and if you're going to share them.
I haven't shared it yet. There's I think in the first half there's a song called I See You by Coco Jones, which is like a love song. And then the second half is I don't know if I can say it out loud.
Say it. You can say it. Say it.
I think it's I don't fuck with you. That was like on my playlist as well. So it's like different vibes. Yeah.
And I mean, what was that process like when is it like you're going to set, let me like smell this perfume? So just because this is a room of actors, and I feel like that moment of really locking into your character.
Morning would start, I get up, I do my run. It's like anything from 90 minutes to 2 hours because I'm a crazy person. And that would get me ready for the day. I'd get in the car, playlist goes on immediately, all the way to work. And depending on where we are in the day, or who we're playing, costume goes, makeup goes on, and that sort of tells me where we are, because the makeup is very different in one than it is in two. Once that makeup is on and the costume is on, perfume goes on last. And it sort of clicks me into place. So it was like the lot, and I would douse myself. I would like, if I walked past you knew I was in the room if I danced. You know, that it was always like the last, it was like the full stop on everything before we walked to set. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the wardrobe, and there were subtle differences. I mean, some big differences, but some, like, your wig was different. The hat, the brim of the hat was wider. Was wider. Your nails were different lengths depending on where Elphaba was at emotionally.
Yeah, I was very particular. I was very, very picky. Jon was very patient with me. I wanted everything to have a development, everything to have a development. So her hair in the first film is very proper, it's very tidy. So it's in a braid or it's to the side, but all the braids are together. There's not a hair out of place. In the second one, it's sort of like, they're like goddess braids almost, right? So there's like wisps of hair sort of coming out of each of the braid, and it's much longer, goes to my hips instead of the small of my back. And her nails, I felt like the more powerful she got, the sort of more evolved her nails became. So you can't see it from where you are, but when you looked at the steps of it looked like a thunderstorm was happening on the nails. Whereas in one it was just like green. In this one it degrades from green to a white tip. And then when she becomes wicked after D, the tip becomes black. And then when she goes back, when she sort of releases that, it goes back to white again. Just like small things like that. The freckles on her face, that changes as well. I wanted to take from the law of the witches. You know, we talk about a wart on the nose or a wart on the chin. And instead of it making it a wart, I put a beauty spot in those places where the law of the witches would come about. And I just kept trying to add these little tiny details where we could. Yeah.
I love that you did that. I wanted to ask you about some of the songs in this incredible film. The new song, No Place Like Home. I mean, first of all, that title, when you get that title, are you like, okay, I've heard those books before.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, the idea of loving a place, of loving a home, and it not loving you is so devastating. And I was curious, when you got these lyrics, when you got this music, how did you sort of unpack that song?
So when I first got the song, one, I was sort of overwhelmed by the fact that we had a new song that was written by Stephen Schwartz to sing. And I already knew that was like a big responsibility. But then the song is called No Place Like Home, and I was like, okay, we've got a lot of work to do here. Because I wanted to make sure that if those words were coming out of this character's mouth, my mouth, that it meant something, that it stood for something. And that we were saying something with it, and then it moved her story along, that we understood more about her because of it. And so when we discussed what more we wanted to do with it, it really was about looking in her emotional connection to the place that she was in, and how she feels about it, and how it feels about her, and how she connects it to the people around her who also feel the same, you know? And when we started working, I remember we sat on my floor. I was on my floor in my house, and he was on Zoom or wherever he wasn't working through it. Just really pedantic about the lyrics that we use. I wanted it to feel like language we could all understand. Why do I love this place? There's no love me. You know, it's an easy concept to understand.
There are so many incredible songs in these two films, and I'm curious for you. There are certain lyrics, I think, for all of us that just pierce us. You know, is there and there may be more than one, but is there a specific lyric that you can think of that has really just like went to the very core of your being?
No Good Deed is really special because, I mean, the whole first verse is really interesting. No good deed goes unpunished, no act of charity goes unresented. No good deed goes unpunished, that's my decree. My road of good intentions led where such roads always lead. No good deed goes unpunished. So it's that. It took me a while to sort of like look into what is she saying. It's the idea that she keeps trying to do good. She keeps trying to do good things, and every time she tries to do something good, it's thwarted. And every time she tries to do something good, it falls back, thrown back in her face, and she's punished for it. And she's sort of, it sounds like a like power anthem, but I actually think it's like her weakest moment. I think it's actually the moment where she has nothing left but to surrender to what's been expected of her, which I think is just desperately sad. I think that's one of those things that's like stuck with me. Like, I never want to be in a place where I get to a place where I have to give up.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, I guess it's like a reminder to myself. I never want to feel like doing good doesn't garner good things for others and myself. I think that's one of those things that sticks to my the sides of me.
I love that. I also feel like at the end of that song, you know that it's sort of her rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then she's going to rise.
Yeah.
She's going, she's gonna phoenix it. You
Yeah.
know?
She has to. She has a choice.
Yeah. One of the moments of just such profound vulnerability with Fiyero when he goes back to her little hideout over there and
the little giggles. So silly.
Sexiest man.
And the cape comes off.
And
And the cozy sweater goes on. And I love, and of course it's echoed at the end of the film, but just the idea of seeing someone, like really and truly seeing someone and seeing the beauty in someone is so lovely, and the fact that it happens multiple times in a film. What did that idea say to you?
Well, I love this particular scene because Johnny and I, when we knew we were sort of about to get into this scene, we wanted to make sure that we didn't just jump into the song and it was just spent for no reason. We knew that the two of these characters had to sort of find one another, and it meant that we wanted to take a little time. So the cape came off as the first act of vulnerability, because that cape it's her armor, and no one has taken that cape off before. It's hers. She uses it to fight with, and essentially to allow someone else to remove that cape is to say, I trust you. And then one of the things I asked for was to allow Elphaba to let go of the rest of the armor, the fighting uniform that she is seen with all the time. How does she exist when she's on her own, when she's in her house, when she's in the place that she feels the safest? So that's where that sort of that warm, cozy cardigan comes in. But also it gave me an opportunity to remind everyone she's green head to toe, is how she lives every single day. And it isn't makeup that she puts on, but that it is the body she lives in, I didn't want us to be afraid of showing that to people, right? And
Were you in hair and makeup double the time?
oh my god, it was 4 or 5 hours. But I was like, let's go, let's do it, it's fine. I wanted to, because I feel like we've seen head and neck, and we sort of can let that sort of go for granted. We can take it for granted that that's what happens, and we forget that it's there. But I think that's a stark reminder. Oh, that's how she lives every day. It's what she looks at in the mirror every day. But that moment of vulnerability, of allowing her to be her softest version and letting someone look into her eyes and call her beautiful when that's not what's happened at all from the first film up until this point. I think it's actually a really scary moment. It's in the middle of the song when Fiyero poses the question. He says, "You're beautiful," and she says, "You don't have to lie to me." He says, "It's not lying," and she says, "What is it?" Doesn't let him get away with just saying something, like challenges him to tell her what it is when he's telling her this, and he's looking at things in another way. And that's the first time I think that's the first time she thinks she's beautiful. I think that's the first time she sees herself really through someone else's eyes, which is deeply sad when she has to say to Glinda, "Look at me through their eyes, not yours." Because I think she also realizes, "Look, Glinda sees me as someone that's beautiful, but you don't see it the way that everyone else sees it, you know?" I think that vulnerability has allowed her to see the way the world sees her, but also to understand how lucky it is that she's been seen by these people as beautiful when others don't see her that way.
Yeah. And of course, of strength and power to be able to say it back to him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so good.
Thank you.
For good.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me about, like, did the two of you rehearse that a lot? I mean, I imagine
We did not rehearse it a lot.
Okay.
We did not, because I think we both wanted to allow whatever came up on the day or days to come up, you know, naturally. We did do a rehearsal, and Jon was cheeky for this, but he was a genius for doing it. When we rehearsed the song, the speeches that come right afterwards were written up to a point, and then we continued, and he didn't stop us. So when I sort of like carry up, when I tell her to come up the stairs, "Come, we have to go, it's time to leave," and I put her in the cupboard, and I said to her, "Everything's gonna be fine, and I love you." That was not written originally. That just happened in rehearsal, and he was like, "Oh, this has to happen. We have to let this happen." When the door closes and the both of us start crying, we can't see each other. The camera was on, so imagine the door is between the two of us. The camera is here, catching both of our reactions. We hadn't rehearsed that. I think we did that twice. And that was it.
I mean, I love that just came out. I mean, at a certain point while you're singing that, this is films that means so much to you, that means so much to Ariana. Do you feel like you're in character? Are you like Cynthia and Ariana? Are you Elphaba and Glinda? Or is it just like all a big mishmash?
I think it's all of the above. You know, I think it's impossible for it not to be all of the above. Because I think your body doesn't really know that you're not telling your own story. Your body just goes with the information is being given. And the two of us care deeply about each other. Cynthia and Ari care deeply about each other. And these characters care deeply about each other. And so for us it really was about saying goodbye. We don't know that we're going to see each other again, you know. And we filmed this was weather cover. We had weather cover. We were supposed to be filming, I think, in Shiz, and we were supposed to be outside, and the weather was not cooperating, so we ran inside and had to start shooting for good. So we had no heads up, which is kind of wonderful in a way, because the pressure was off. We just did as we were supposed to do. But the two of us kind of threw all the emotions that we could possibly throw into it as ourselves and as the character into that moment, you know? Because how else can you do it? Yeah.
What was the day? Perfection, truly perfection. Was that the most emotionally wrung out you were at the end of the day?
Yes, and the day that we shot the very end of that song when we had to run into the cup, that was tough. Yeah. And actually that and I felt like the very end of that movie where I look into the distance and I see him and I saw that was an emotional day for me, you know. We had a lot of those.
Yeah.
We had a lot of those moments, yeah.
I bet, was that one of the last shots you did?
No, one of the last shots I did was Defying Gravity. That actually was the last shot.
Wow, okay, so you went out, on a high note,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, literally. So the last couple of days was shooting the beginning of As Long As You're Mine, and then finishing Defying Gravity. Ari left on Ari's last day was the first day I was shooting Defying Gravity. Like, I remember we were doing an interview in the air, and that was Ari's last day. And my last day, strange enough, was after our strike. And we had 10 days left, and we shot all of the flying shots, and then we finished with Defying Gravity, and then that was that for me. So when I say we really shot this out of chronological order, that's how it was. Yeah.
That is like the biggest mic drop ever. I wanted to ask you about another moment where Elphaba says, I need to be wicked
So you can be good.
so you can be good. And that's such a beautiful moment, and in some ways there's something sad that like we live in a world of binary and good and bad, good and wicked, and then there's this other part of me as I was watching it that felt like in that moment Elphaba so claims wicked with pride, and it's such a moment of power, at least as how I viewed it. And I was wondering for you what that sentence meant to you.
That was sort of one of the added shots that we put in towards the end, and I was so pleased about it because it meant that Elphaba could claim the name that she'd been given this whole entire time and turn it into something else. That the idea of her claiming wicked for herself meant that good was possible. And I was really proud of being able to do that, because it really did actually twist it on its head and change what that meant. It posed Glinda with the challenge of actually being good, because if I have to take up this mantle, then you have to actually take up the mantle that you've been claiming to take up this whole entire time, which I thought was very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was also curious about the conversations or even that you thought of alone, or that you talked to Jon and Ari about the end. I mean, to you, what is it? Is it happy? Is it?
I think it is. I think it is. I said to Jon, I want her to be able to release everything. I want her to know that she can leave this up to someone else and finally go and be happy. Like, let go of it. It's why I asked for her clothes to be different by the end. I wanted everything to be really flowy and free, nothing constricting, and sort of see-through, so there's no shame in the colour of her skin. You kind of see it in the light, and that it's all like, finally she can be really soft. There's no fight there anymore. She can wander off into the distance, hand in hand with someone she loves, and be okay. And I knew that before when we were going to shoot, she was still going to be in her sort of battle armor. And I was like, I don't think that's right. I think we need to let her let go. Because otherwise, we don't really actually believe that she's letting Glinda get on with it now. She's not actually handing over. I really wanted her to hand over what's left now. I wanted her to relinquish the burden of being the person that's trying to constantly fix things whilst being plastered with a name that doesn't belong to her, I wanted her to be free.
Yeah.
So we had a conversation.
And there's so much of her life is spent, I mean, whether at the beginning, her father, the way it's so often how others view her, and then at the end, it's just, there's nothing.
Yeah. It's also why I didn't want her in black. I find, Paul talks about her wearing black because she was in mourning for her mother, and then claiming black, the color black for power and the battle and the fight. And I finally was like, well, Fiyero's colors in the first movie is blue, and actually in this movie he's always wearing green. And I thought, one sort of like poetic thing for her to now just be wearing blue. So that last outfit is a deep blue as opposed to a black. Yeah, and I asked for it to be that, so that they're wearing each other's colours and they can just go off together.
How did playing this character and doing these films, as you think about the many, many films and putting in a plug for Broadway show again, and right, and you know, how has that impacted the way you view the roles you want to take on?
I think I've always tried to take on the roles that shift perspective on the woman you see, you know? And I think this has vividly put my feet in the mud. I'm always gonna pick the ones that are slightly outside of the norm, the ones that are on the outskirts, the ones that people have perceptions of that aren't necessarily true, so that I can maybe shift, maybe make you question whether or not you're looking at it from the right angle, you know? I love these women who are complex and different and I like the word difficult because we can claim it back. And not easy to love, not easy to understand, because why should they be? Human beings are multifaceted and complex and strange and wonderful and loving and hurting and in pain. And I love that about this character, that she's all those things and above. And I think the wonderful thing about this particular part of the movie is that we get that, and now, because we have the time, I got to explore her as a sensual being, as a person who falls in love, as a person who is in pain and is in loss and and can express her rage and can express her grief, and it just was such a full plate of emotions and humanity that I could play with, and that's what I want in my characters. I want to see the, excuse the pun, the rainbow in them.
And then I guess I'm curious, I mean, I know that it's you could write a novel, and you do have a book on hand, about how this film has changed you and what it has done for you and for your soul and for your, I mean, so many things. I'm curious if, like, what do you think 100 years from now, when you look back at this experience and these two films and this journey that you went on, what are you gonna think?
I'm going to think, thank goodness it dropped into my life and that I had the experience, because I really do think it's like a once in a lifetime thing. Even if something big happens again, it's never gonna be exactly the same as this, you know? This is one of those things where the puzzle pieces just fit together. It was an incredible cast of people with an incredible director, an incredible costume designer, an incredible co-star. Just the whole thing came together in a really, really beautiful way. And then on top of which I think I've learned to be less guarded. I'm a Capricorn through and through, so I'm stubborn as heck. I don't let people in easily. I don't befriend people easily. It takes me a long time to warm up to people. But this is sort
Put
of,
on that proverbial cozy sweater.
yeah, that's right. But this sort of has allowed me to, I don't know, be a little bit more malleable, be a little bit more open. You know, I think having come into contact with so many different types of people who this story has touched, who this character has touched, all different walks of life, I think it sort of made me see that humanity is so much bigger than we allow it to be. That there's so much more kindness and so much more love. There are so many people out here who feel like they don't belong, but you all belong because you all feel different. Everyone feels like they don't belong, is what I've realized. And so this movie is sort of like a love song to those who feel like they don't belong, but it's also sort of like a hug to let you know you do. You belong here for sure. You know? Thank you.
the word in the English language hasn't been invented to say how much you moved every single person here and around the world, obviously, and just how extraordinary you are in this film. And I want to thank you so much for being here. Congratulations.